Hello people, I am back with playing Swooning over stands, but this time it's 6:40 in the morning, and I'm bothering everyone. Don't look at me like that. You wake up to a loud crash downstairs. Not entirely uncommon in this house, you're quickly finding out, but still disconcerting. More clatters and thumps lead you to the kitchen, where Mabel teeters on a short step ladder in front of the pantry. Standing on her tiptoes, she reaches as high as she can for a small yellow box on the top shelf. Pancake mix. Without a word, you go to her side and pluck the box from the shelf for her, placing it into her outstretched hand. Oh, Disco Rampius. I forgot his name. Thank you. Grunkle Stan put it on the top shelf for some reason, but I need some Mabel cakes. It's a breakfast emergency. She waggles her free fingers in your face and you can't help but laugh. You can tell the house becomes more alive when this kid's around. Want to help me make them? We only need chocolate milk, coffee, pink food coloring, and potted goldos to make this breakfast dream a breakfast reality. As delicious as that sounds, you're inclined to ask where the coffee comes into the mix when you realize the house is suspiciously quiet. Mabel, where is everybody? Oh, Grunkle Stan needed some stuff for your car, so he went to go get mechy, techie stuff for that. I think Grunkle Ford's somewhere. He heard the abominable bro-man was trying to steal soda from campers, so he went to help them out. Yep, that's where he went. Totally knew that. So they left you guys to make breakfast on your own. You don't know the family well enough yet to know this is commonplace, so the idea of leaving two teenagers alone to fend for themselves seems fine, if one of the teenagers wasn't Mabel anyway. You still don't know how coffee fits into her Mabel cakes, but now you don't really want to know. Dipper attempts to hide the pancake mix from Mabel while she's grabbing the chocolate milk from the fridge. Apparently he doesn't want to find out either. Mabel, while your Mabel cakes sound absolutely divine, why don't we... Quick, think of something so you don't hurt her feelings. Go out for breakfast. Is there somewhere we can go out for breakfast? We should really save the Mabel cakes till your great uncles get back. I know they wouldn't want to miss them. But I want to perfect my recipe! I have to get better at cooking and baking and stuff so I can survive out there in the world. What if in high school I have to bake stuff and people are better than me? Mabel looks very agitated, tugging at her hair with both hands. If I can't make the perfect Mabel cakes, I can never be on Bad Dreams Dining. I gotta impress Gerald Grandbone, Disco Vampius, it's my destiny. Quick, think of something so her feelings. Maybe Dipper can help you make something different. We should save the Mabel cakes for another day, a more special day. For Disco Vampius, Mabel, still standing on the stepladder, reaches up and squishes your cheeks together, her wide eyes staring into your soul. Every day is a special day with Mabel cakes. You glance at Dipper, making a please help me and I'll buy you breakfast face. You hope he understands. Yeah, Mabel, I know you want to cook more since you're becoming an adult. Sure, but don't you think Grunkle Stan and Great Uncle Ford should be here to try them too, and not just me, again? Mabel hops off the stepladder and ponders her brother's question, lips pursed. Eventually she nods, beaming at you both. You're right, Dipper, I can't deny them that experience. You give Dipper a thankful smile over Mabel's head as she puts the ingredients back in the refrigerator. He grins back at you, rubbing the back of his neck. You wonder if he got that from one of his grunkles. That's clever, now that you think about it. Great plus uncle to make grunkle. Saves time on syllables. We should go to Gracie's. They have some of the best pancakes there, with like 3 different kinds of syrup if you ask Lazy Susan nicely. Yeah, it's not super far. Let's go. The kids are about to head out of the kitchen when you realize something. Wait, are you going to leave a note for your grunkles about where you're going? Oh, right. Good call. Dipper scribbles out a note for Stan and Ford and sticks it on the front door of the shack with one of Mabel's stickers. Mabel's stickers. The kids lead the way towards the town, explaining various landmarks and the wild and wonderful stories attached to them along the way. And this is where we saw those 2 ghostly old people. In a convenience store? Strange, but you nod regardless. Maybe she just meant they were so old they looked like ghosts. Though after what you've heard about Gravity Falls already, you couldn't believe they were real ghosts. You could believe they were real ghosts. Dipper points out the diner in the distance, a log-shaped building atop a train cart, and the 3 of you head inside. You soon realize that the kids know just about everyone in this town. Several people, young and old, wave at them as the 3 of you find a table, and you get the feeling that they're almost famous in Gravity Falls, though you're not entirely sure why. They're pretty cute though. Mabel blows the paper wrapper of a straw at Dipper's face, and he retaliates by swatting her with a laminated menu. An elderly woman in a pastel pink waitress dress comes up to the table, and you catch the name on her tag, Susan. Hiya kids, and stranger, what can I get for you? Pancakes and all 3 syrups for me, please, Lazy Susan. Same for me, actually. Lazy Susan turns toward you, notepad in hand. I'm bad at talking today. Pancakes. Coming right up, sweetie. Lazy Susan winks, with her good eye of course, and heads to the back of the diner. The wait for your food to arrive feels longer here than most, mainly due to Mabel and Dipper using this time to interrogate you. At first it's somewhat intimidating. You literally crashed into their house and started hanging out with their great uncles, so they have lots of questions. Once the irrational fear of two 13-year-olds fades out, you recognize their interview for what it really is. They care about their grunkles. If you start hanging out with them more, they want to know as much about you as possible. Mabel's questions are somewhat nonsensical. So if you were stranded on a desert island with no boat, no cheating, what would you take with you? While Dippers are more careful and calculated. What were you doing before you came here? School? Work? Both? Neither? Did you know about Gravity Falls before you crashed into the shack? You immediately know which grunkle each twin takes after. Stan and Mabel, goofy partners in crime, versus the quiet brainiacs, Ford and Dipper. It's an intriguing contrast, especially now that you're thrown into the middle of the bunch. But as the twins race to see which syrup bottle drips into their mouths the fastest, Dipper's blueberry syrup beats Mabel's classic maple by half a millisecond, you swear on it. You know that these kids do a lot more for their great uncles than just be cute counterparts. And here we go. Enjoy, kiddos. Let me know if you need anything else. Lazy Susan gives out the respective plates and the kids go quiet, shoveling down their food like they've never been fed before. Between mouthfuls, you get a few more questions about yourself, and your theories on aliens versus which member of M Synchronized was your favourite, but the table is near silent as the three of you eat. That is, until Mabel speaks up through a mouth of pancake. So, Disco Vampires, if, in a totally made-up and not real situation, you had to pick who your favourite was, who'd you pick? Grunkle Stan or Grunkle Ford? This seems too plain compared to our other cutesy questions. Dipper elbows his sister not so subtly, and she elbows him right back, wide-eyed staring at him with a sibling look you can't decipher. Like, say you're in a movie, like one of those weird movies Grunkle Stan watches on TV with the ladies in poofy dresses riding horses. Awfully specific, but you let her continue, taking another bite of your food. You're the main character of this movie, and you got two guys who are both madly in love with you. This one doesn't mess around with getting right to the point, huh? But you could only marry one of them, so you could be the next in line for the throne. What would you do? If Grunkle Stan and Grunkle Ford were your choices, who would you go with? Mabel, that's kind of weird, isn't it? Like, really weird, and kinda gross. Come on, Dipper, this is important information that's vital to my research. What research? None of your business, yet I'm still gathering the research. Mabel leans towards Dipper's ear to whisper, waggling her brow at you before she replies, in not a whisper, but quite the opposite. Research into how you're a huge nerd! And with that, Mabel catapults a spoonful of melted butter from atop her pancakes onto Dipper's cheek, with a very satisfying splat. Dipper jerks in disgust, but retaliates by smearing strawberry syrup onto Mabel's nose, a drop of stickiness plopping onto her sweater. Ew, gross! You're gross. There's no vitriol between the twins, but lots of giggles and a few more various food missiles. Eventually, syrup streaks Mabel's cheekbones and some of her hair, and Dipper has a small piece of pancake stuck to his face. You guys are dorks. Maybe you're right, but we're twins, so it's adorable. If you say so, Mabel. Wait, quick, Disco Vampires, take a picture of us while Dipper's got pancake on his face. I have what? He swipes quickly at his face and, after several passes, gets it off. Aw, I was trying to get more candid pictures of us. Mabel, you have syrup everywhere. Really? Ugh, then it would have been a perfect photo. Here, let me get it. Your hands are sticky enough. You get back up with napkin in hand and try to wipe some of the syrup off Mabel's cheeks. The excess syrup swipes off easily, but a good portion doesn't budge. I mean, maybe syrup as makeup is the next new look. That's one word for it, kid. We wondered where you went once we came back to a suspiciously quiet house. If it weren't for Dipper's note, we would have been worried. Sixer would have been worried. I tried to tell him you kids pull this kind of stuff all the time, heading out unannounced, putting stress on your poor old grunkle's heart. He puts a hand over his heart dramatically. All those missing hours of unpaid child labor. Actually, that note wasn't me. Well, I wrote it, but Disco Vampires is the one who said we should, so that you would know where we all went. Both Ford and Stan turned to look at you, surprised. Really? Figured these two knuckleheads dragged you here. Why not make breakfast at home? This place is at least a 15-minute walk from the shack. Well, you glance at Dipper, swiping his finger across Mabel's cheek and licking the blueberry syrup off. Mabel has a pancake in her mouth, chewing on it like a grazing sheep. I wanted to treat them to something, I guess. It's the least I can do. You're letting me stay with you and fixing my car. I thought since you were gone, I'd take these two out for a change. Also, Mabel was gonna make Mabel cakes again. You're just mad you can't even make toast right. Why, yes I can! I burned it one time! One time! Dipper holds his syrup-tipped finger in the air indignantly. Well, Mabel wanted you guys to enjoy her Mabel cakes too, and since there wasn't much food, I figured I'd take them out. Stan snatches the pancake from Mabel's mouth and takes a bite of it, cackling when she stands on the seat to try and grab it back, climbing over Dipper to reach. Aside from the kerfuffle, you catch Ford's eye. Was he staring at you? As soon as he realizes, he quickly sets his gaze elsewhere, looking over your head and out the window. You'd say that he probably just shifted his attention, but his finger hooks under the high neck of his sweater and tugs at it. Well, Disco Vampires, I really appreciate you looking after Dipper and Mabel for us. It was kind of you to bring them here. Oh, it wasn't a big deal, really. I'm happy to help. You smile at him, pretending you don't feel how warm your face is. Maybe it's just hot and greasy. Ford looks close to the shade of his sweater. Dipper mumbles an ow, and you catch Mabel elbowing his side, waggling her brows at him. You're not sure why. Well, kid, if you're paying, scoot over, Dipper. I want breakfast too. Stanley, it's at least 12:30 now. Grunkle Ford, that means it's time for brunch. Duh. See, this kid gets me. Now let me in so I can get some grub. Dipper moves to your side of the booth as Stan sits next to Mabel and Ford sits at Dipper's side. Lazy Susan comes back and takes orders for another round of food and drinks for everyone, including Mabel, who decided that she wants more pancakes. You're starting to regret offering to pay, but as Stan and Mabel try their hand at syrup drip race with Dipper cheering them on, Ford watching with a wide grin on his face, you know you don't really mind that much. After the expedition to find Mothman, you accompanied Ford on a few other missions, so to speak, examining various birds of the forest, including the questionable stomach-faced duck, who snatched your sandwich and quickly ran off, Ford in hot pursuit. While he didn't find what evidence he needed, something to do with their digestive systems, you both decided that the stomach-faced duck flock were questionable. Not as questionable as the question quail, which he showed you from a scanned journal page, but still questionable. You asked why he decided the hawktopus was too stupid to study, but received a loud groan, and too sticky for an answer. Valid point. All in all, your adventures with Ford have been more enjoyable than you expected, and you can't help but hope you'll get to experience another one with him soon. You walk through the living room, lost in thought about question quails and Ford's journal pages, and narrowly avoid slipping on a sheet of graph paper. Ah, don't look! Oh, it's you. Dipper peers out over a book that proclaims D, D, and more D, officially licensed campaign journal. He's sitting on the yellow armchair with crisscrossed legs, barricaded in with books and papers. He's got a lap of multicolored dice and a half-dozen chewed pencils strewn across the floor and one in his mouth. You look down and notice that the floor is almost entirely covered in graph paper. Hi, did you need something? I know it's kind of messy, I should probably clean that up. Dipper looks reluctant to extract himself from his self-constructed fantasy lore prison. Here, I can do it, you look busy. You're about halfway through cleaning the floor before you actually start looking at what's on the various sheets you're holding. A fantasy map, some floor plans, and countless scribbled notes and calculations in the margins. What are these for? Planning something? Dipper's re-immersed in his planning. He startles a little when you ask. Oh, right, no big deal. It's just for this great pen and paper role-playing game called Dungeons, Dungeons and More Dungeons. D&D, DD and MD for short. It's all about fantasy worlds and statistics and swords and, well, it's kind of difficult to explain, but it's super fun. I'm playing it with Grunkle Ford today, so I'm just putting down the final touches on my dungeon. He's gonna be so stumped. Stumped, you say? Ford comes into the room at that precise moment, drying his hands on his trench coat. Perfect timing, Dipper. I just managed to get the paint off my hands. Paint from what? Oh, one of the gnomes came by and decided he'd graffiti the side of the house. Something about his rapper persona. Yeesh. Yeah, I don't think Jay Gnomesy's going anywhere in the music business. In any event, I've seen you've been hard at work. Are you ready for our game? Yes, and oh, Disco Vampires, I can take those now. Thanks for the help. Ford looks like he just noticed you standing there for the first time since he entered the room. Disco Vampires, glad to see you weren't too shaken up by our adventure yesterday. You grin and hand Dipper this tall stack of papers, catching a glimpse of the stats for a knock-knock skull. Well, I made it back in one piece, right? That's the spirit, though 90% of a piece would have been good too. You know, you never realize how little a difference 10% makes until you lose it. Uh-huh. So how was the Mothman? Shaken up. All in the name of research, though. I've seen it lose a few moths and come back the next week good as new. A process akin to cycling out dead cells. I would say we just expedited that process. No moral issues there. Well, Disco Vampires, the game calls and I must answer. Stanley's about if you're looking for him. Though, well, if you wanted to join our game, I certainly wouldn't object. I can promise a fun afternoon. Another player! Yeah, totally! I can give you a pre-made character sheet to start and dice. Shoot, where'd I put my other set? Don't worry, I've got an extra set. Me? I don't even know how to play. Oh man, there are so many rules. Where to start? I mean, it's really easy to pick up. It's even, like, kind of popular now. You're not sure about committing the whole afternoon to this game with Ford. That Dipper does seem pretty excited about it. But Stan's around too, and you wanted to go check on your car. Well, think about it, Disco Vampires. Dipper, my boy. Why don't you and I get things set up in the meantime? Ford and Dipper launch into fantasy Lord Hawk as they prop up a corkboard against the yellow armchair, pin up various maps and floor plans with important landmarks, and upend their pouches of dice onto the carpet. I'm asking to join the game. D&D. Great. Oh shoot, did you look at the plans earlier? Those were for Dungeon Master's eyes only. If I'd known you were going to join us. Don't worry, I didn't look. What a relief. No wait, what if you're lying to get an edge in the game? Is this legal, Grockleford? What? I didn't hear. I was just categorizing these DD and MD books. How many volumes do they have these days? Dipper and Ford put the final pieces in their place. The floor is encircled in a mix of propped up corkboards, books, maps, notes, and loose leaf paper. Ford unfolds a game board in the center of the madness. Brilliant, we're all ready. Don't look so nervous, Disco Vampius. You'll have me here to walk you through it. Ford sits down next to the game board. He pats the piece of carpet next to him, inviting you to sit, and you do. Dipper sits across from you on the other side of the game board and unfolds an illustrated piece of cardboard, propping it up in front of him. He notices your questioning gaze on it and looks back at you. Oh yeah, this is the Dungeon Master screen. It's just there to protect my secrets. It hides essential die rolls and plot points from prying player eyes. Grockleford's tried to look ahead once or twice and spoiled a narrative twist, and you were the only player. I'm just making sure my dungeon mastering apprentice stays on his toes. You can never be too vigilant. Differ gathers up his dice in a pile next to the DM screen, ready to roll when needed. Now, I mentioned an extra dice set, didn't I? Dice are important, though by no means essential component of gameplay. No adventurer should leave the house without a set. I keep mine in this souvenir velvet dice bag from a local game store. Yes. Ford retrieves the dark drawstring bag from his coat and empties it onto the floor, where dice of different shapes and sizes come tumbling out. And now for yours. Ford pulls another matching drawstring bag from the depths of his coat. They were having a buy one get one discount. Go ahead, take a look. These will be yours for the session. You pour these dice onto the carpet as well, metallic gold with the numbers embossed in black. Fancy. While I didn't have enough left to make them from solid gold, I was able to electroplate a set for fun. Great Uncle Ford, you electroplated those dice? They're so nice. That didn't mean to rhyme. Maybe you should be the one with the rapping career, not Jay Gnomesy. Ford and Dipper laugh. Yeah, maybe not. But anyway, let me reintroduce our characters. Dipper clears his throat, settling into the Dungeon Master persona. When we last left our heroes, Miv the Medgling trapped the great elven wizard Vernon and the halfling fighter Tyrus in a dungeon filled to the brim with puzzles, riddles, and brain teasers. To reach Miv and end this journey once and for all, they'll have to brave the dungeon's mysteries and escape with their lives intact. Dipper sets two figurines side by side on the game board. One is an imposing figure in flowing robes, and the other is much shorter in comparison, but posed with a will to prove of himself. You suppose the former is Vernon and the latter Tyrus. But what would our two heroes find in the first room of the dungeon but a potential ally, just as trapped as they are, who will join them in their quest for freedom? Dipper places three figurines on the carpet, just off to the side of the game board. And you get to choose your character now, Disco Vampius. These are starters with pre-made templates, so they're good for short notice editions like this. Choose my character. Do I go with human bard, dwarf fighter, or orc rogue? You're my off-screen help, and you're not very helpful.
Yes, dear.
Yeah, fine, human bard. As a nod to Xanthias, my D&D character. Bards use invigorating song to encourage their allies, or the blow of their insults to damage their enemies. I've kind of reevaluated my stance on bards lately. You'll come in handy if we encounter any undead. Will we? Maybe. Hey, stop trying to play ahead. Be a human bard. Yes. Dipper moves your figurine onto the board, besides Vernon and Tyrus. Alright, what's the name going to be? Alex. Short for Alexandria Rios. You hear Ford trying Alexandria Rios under his breath a few times? I'll just call them Alex. Here's your character sheet. It's got all the info on it. Ahem. Our heroes encounter Alexandria Rios, Alex for short, in the first room of the dungeon. Alex, what's your deal with our main villain? Miv the Meddling. I just woke up here with a headache. Ford, hurry. No, Miv murdered my family, and now I seek revenge. Alex explains how they've struck Miv's ire, and in turn Tyrus shares that Miv once bested him in a duel, an embarrassment because Miv is a sorcerer, and sorcerers aren't known for their physical combat skills. In Tyrus's defense, he was still young at the time. But none of this matters, because to finally face down Miv, they must escape. Behind you is a plain door. On the far wall of the room is a set of red doors, and to the left and right are old stained glass windows with weirdly familiar motifs on them. Having woken up here with no recollection of getting here at all, you have no way of knowing which door you came in, should go out of, or even what direction you should head in at all. And now you guys decide what you want to do. You might want to look around first. And by that, of course, we mean rolling a die to see if we can notice anything. The outcome of nearly every substantial choice we make is tied to a roll of the dice. I'll let you choose what to do here, Disco Vampius. Then I'll take a look around. Ford shows you what to roll for the investigation check, and Dipper flips through his notebook, ready to tell you what you see. Huh, nice roll. Tacked to one of the walls of this room is a note that reads, "Proceed with caution, homies." Tyrus pockets the note, and in the distance you hear the faint sound of rushing water. What do you do next? What's the state of the door behind us? See for yourself. I'm still the DM. I can't respond unless you check the door. Ford casts Detect Magic, and after confirming with Dipper that there is no magic behind the door, pushes it open. The three of you leave through the door. Nice. As the last of you step through the doorway, it melts, seeping into the wall as if it were never there. Guess we're not going back that way. The chandelier overhead ignites, casting the room in a warm orange glow and revealing an impressive door on the far wall. In front of it is a large cloth-covered lump. Please. 1 second. Sorry about that brief interruption. I'm going to take a look around. You roll for investigation, just like earlier. You approach it to inspect it. As your footsteps grow nearer, the lump shifts, rising to reveal that it is in fact a goblin. The goblin stands to attention and tries to pretend he was never asleep. Travellers, I noticed thee, and demand you answer these riddles 3. Answer the riddles. The goblin reaches into its pocket, pulling out a crumpled piece of paper that he unfolds with care. What has 88 keys but can't open a single door?
Not the right key, obviously.
Shut up. Do I answer the riddle or do I let Ford answer it?
Do you know the answer?
Huh?
Here's the answer.
I'm using them. Shut up. You're not using them. I'll let Ford answer it. Sounds like a piano to me. Next, what kind of keys cannot open doors? Is it all keyboard keys, piano keys? Do I answer that or do I continue to let Ford answer?
The key to Ford's heart, apparently.
Shut up, Tasha. A turnkey. And finally, what is the first thing you did on your adventure? Goblin voice. Do not question me. Look around. The door is now open to you, fabulous homies. The goblin steps aside to let you go through the doorway. And with that, you've cleared my goblin puzzle. Well, a fourth of them anyway. It could have gone so many other ways. Dipper then beams, and you follow his line of sight to realize it's because Ford just gave Dipper an encouraging smile of his own. As soon as you enter the next room, the wall melds over the doorway, sealing you in. Glancing around, the far wall of the room seems to be of a different material and colour than the rest, though it could just be the lighting. To the left, you see rows of keys affixed to the wall. Inspect the keys or inspect the far wall. Normally I have other people to bounce these decisions off, but they're not here. And normally they yell at me. D&D's talk, don't worry. Inspect the far wall. You look at it and confirm that it's a different colour than the rest. Can I knock on it? You see Dipper give you a smile, knowing what you're looking for. You knock along the wall and find that one section sounds hollow. As soon as you realize that, the next knock opens up a gap in the wall, which reveals itself to be a door. Do I go through the door or do I stay where I am? Tasha, you need to be... Tasha, let me bounce these decisions off you. Do I go through the door or do I stay where I am? Shut up, we'll share the repercussions of a bad answer, but I will scream at you if you give me... Fine. I'm going through the door. Nobody cares about your apple. As soon as you enter the room, you're struck by how different it looks from the rest of the dungeon. This small chamber is elaborate, with colourful cushions, rugs, and a dining table that holds a half-eaten feast. Next to the feast, a mouse examines a few empty goblets on the table. The mouse sees the party and beckons you to come into the room. There's been a crime. Someone has stolen my precious silver sword. You three look like heroes. Won't you help me? When I arrived in my room, I found these three suspects: a gnome, a kobold, and an owlbear. I knew someone was going to come and try and steal my precious sword, so I set up a wondrous feast as a trap for thieves. You and Ford share a look at the idea that a mouse would somehow be living it up in an evil sorcerer's puzzle dungeon. I left them 3 goblets. The first held a truth serum, and the other 2 a lying serum. I don't know which of these creatures drank from which, so I was going to hold an interrogation when they woke up. But now you're here. Oh, heroes, won't you help me figure out who stole my sword? I'm afraid that if I uncover the culprit, they'll slay me in cold blood, delicate mouse that I am. Don't show me stuff, I can't. The electro-nurse is blowing away. Oh, don't show me that I'm distracted, just save it for later. Well, alright. Took the words right from my mouth, Discamampius. Let's get on with the interrogation. You approach each sleeping creature in turn, waking them up with a few shakes and asking them who stole the silver sword. The gnome says, I didn't do it, the kobold did it alone. The kobold says, I didn't do it, the owlbear did. And the owlbear says, I didn't do it, the gnome did it alone. One creature drank a truth serum and the other 2 a lying serum. Okay, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Okay, I don't want to have to answer this, but okay.
You go next time, dating zoo.
Okay, so, technically, if the gnome and the owlbear both drank the lying serum, they both say, I didn't do it, this other person did it alone. So, I think the kobold is innocent, and the gnome and the owlbear did it. I could very well be wrong. This is just a guess after having been up all night. Okay, so gnome and owlbear. I'm going to be wrong, and I'm going to hate myself. The mouse looks dumbfounded at how fast you figured it out. Oh wait, that's different talking, not the mouse. The mouse looks dumbfounded at how fast you figured it out, but soon turns her attention back to the thieves. Nice job! Now cough up the sword, you thieves! The owlbear digs within their feathers to reveal an ornate, polished silver sword, and the gnome retrieves a matching scabbard from under their hat. I am the best! The mouse looks down at the returned sword happily, then looks at the party. I realise now that keeping this sword is more trouble than it's worth. Here, you have it. I've changed the mouse's voice. I've only ever used it as a conversation starter because it can only cut through silver. Perhaps with you it'll finally have some use. The mouse bestows the silver sword upon your party. You move forward, leaving the mouse's room behind, and come to another doorway. While Dip is flipping through his notebook for the next part of the dungeon, Ford nudges you, holding up a hand for a high 6. That was a nice job, Discamampius. I'm impressed you got the riddle. Is it hot in here, or is it just a side effect of the green glass door disintegrating? You high 6 forward, beaming, as Dipper finds the page he needs to continue the game. Through the doorway, the air feels damper than before. The sound of rushing water from earlier has only intensified. On the wall to your left, you see a bell. I ring the bell. It may have been a trap, or it may have been the right thing to do, because the floor opens beneath you and the 3 of you land in a boat. It hovers above the rushing river below, ready to start its trip on command. Dipper takes a folded piece of paper from his notebook and hands it to you and Ford. It reads, next stop, upstream. Beast's antechamber, 3 giant strides away. Next stop, downstream. The mirror room, 3 giant strides away. Get off the boat at your own risk. I'm guessing we don't go to the Beast's antechambers. Can I check the river speed? You find that the river flows at 2 giant strides per tip of the hourglass. So when do you want to stop the boat? It would be 1.5 tips no matter which way you're going, but I don't know if we're going upstream or downstream. Nicely done. Oh, that was just a general question, okay. It wasn't... You command the boat to take you 1.5 tips of the hourglass, following the flow of the river. The boat comes to a stop at the entrance to a hallway, and the three of you step out onto the familiar stone floor. Burning torches line the walls, lighting the hall brightly as you enter. As you walk forward, you notice your steps are visible in the thick layer of dust on the floor. The place smells old. At the end of the hallway, the part approaches a set of two giant approaches a set of two giant oak doors. Disco Vampius, roll to see how aware you are of your surroundings. You roll and are unsuccessful. Oh, I have so many memories of this happening. Alex steps on something, a trap panel set into the floor. You watch in astonishment as a ghostly skull floats out of it, rising to about eye level just in front of the oak doors. You expect it to speak or do something, but it just floats there. What do you do? Inspect the skull. The skull looks non-human, but you don't know enough to say what species it is. What do you do? Inspect the door. You don't know much about doors, but you can tell that these ones are giant oak and that there's two of them. Open the door? Just as you're about to touch the door, the skull speaks. Knock. Its voice is loud and booming, enough to match the grandeur of the giant oak doors behind it. Vernon knocks on the door. The skull asks, "Who's there?" Answer the skull. Spell. Spell who? W-H-O. Dipper grins at the classic. That is terrible. Okay, next. The skull demands more joke offerings. Knock knock. Who's there? To. To who? It's to whom? This one gets Dipper to laugh, whether through the sheer smugness in Ford's voice or otherwise. Alright, you both pass. The door opens and Mabel bursts through the doorway. I knew it! You always make those voices when you're playing your nerd game. Disco Vampius, you're playing with them too? How's homework the game? Actually, where? Telling knock-knock jokes. Mabel gasps. I could beat all of you. Get ready for this. Knock-knock. Who's there? Clean clothes. Clean clothes who? Yeah, I thought you'd forgotten what clean clothing was like. Mabel, geez, we're in front of a guest right now. Mabel laughs and leaves again, but not before directing you a pair of finger guns. Good luck seducing that one. Okay, I'm good. I'm fine. Dipper calls out after her. The hot elf isn't even in this campaign! Anyway, like I was saying. It's joke quota met. The skull gives you a curt nod and floats back into the trap panel. The oak doors open and the three of you step through to freedom. And there it is, the end of the dungeon. I cut it down a bit on the fly. I didn't want to make it too long. I would have ran a murder mystery I've had planned out for ages, but my test runs have never, gone very well with my focus group. So, what do you think? When do we find the sorcerer? This is actually a transition into the next super plot-centric campaign about infiltrating the sorcerer's tower. Dipper shows you a couple pages of his campaign book, which looks to be filled with various dungeon sketches with realistic physics calculations crowded into every spare space. Well, Dipper, I think you did well. It's not easy adding an extra player on short notice like that. I always write it in just in case. Not completely, but just a few notes. Vaughn and Dipper launch into a conversation about dungeon mastering as they clean up the DDAMD setup, returning the game components to their original glossy fantasy box. They're too fast and practiced for you to figure out how to help, so you just pick up the dice board lent you and return them to their original velvet bag. Dipper leaves to put the DDAMD box back upstairs, and then it's just you and Ford. Disco Vampius, you did well for a first timer. I'd take you into a dungeon with me. I mean... Don't laugh. Don't laugh. Stop it. Ford gives you an embarrassed smile, but you're already smiling at him yourself. I know what you meant. Thanks, Ford. A call comes from the kitchen, from what sounds like Stan. Haha, well, I'd talk more, but I'd better see what he needs. Ford moves past you, heading towards the kitchen. You suddenly feel the need to hold on to this moment, like you need to say something. Ford? Yes? Now that he's looking at you again, you don't remember what you were going to say. All you say is, here's your set of dice back, thanks for letting me use it. Ford chuckles, shaking his head. No, you keep it, in case you decide to join us again next time. See you at dinner, Disco Vampius. Oh cool, this is where I'm gonna save, after this thing loads. Oh, that's what that is. Okay, no, that makes sense. I'm saving now. Okay, bye.